Hello everyone, and welcome back. Before we begin today's story, I want to tell you something important. Every week, we receive messages from students who dream about studying abroad, getting a better job, or simply speaking English with confidence. Many of them believe that these dreams are too far away because of one exam, IELTS. If that sounds like you, I want you to listen carefully to today's story. This is the story of one student whose life completely changed after making one simple decision. It is not just a story about an English exam. It is a story about fear, hard work, disappointment, hope, and finally achieving a dream that once seemed impossible. When I first met him, he wasn't fluent in English. He wasn't one of those students who could speak confidently or understand everything they heard. In fact, he often told me, "Julia, I think my English is too weak. Maybe I'm too late." But he had one dream. He wanted to study for a master's degree in the United Kingdom. The university accepted his academic qualifications, but there was one final requirement before he could receive his offer. He needed an IELTS score of 7.5. For many people, this number is just a score. For him, it was the key to a completely different future, a new country, a new university, a better career, a new life. The problem was that his English level wasn't anywhere near that score. At that moment, he had two choices. He could give up and forget his dream, or he could start the longest and most difficult journey of his life. And that is exactly where our story begins. At first, he thought the journey would be easy. He watched random YouTube videos, downloaded free apps, memorized long vocabulary lists, and spent hours studying grammar. Every day he felt busy. But after a few weeks, something became clear. His English wasn't really improving. He could recognize many words, but he couldn't use them naturally. Listening was still difficult. Speaking made him nervous. Writing took forever, and every practice IELTS test ended with the same disappointing result. One evening, he looked at his notebook and quietly said, "Maybe I'm just not good enough." For the first time, he started to believe that studying in the UK might never happen. But sometimes the biggest changes begin at the moment when we feel like giving up. And that was exactly what happened next. A few days later, he realized something important. The problem wasn't that he wasn't working hard. The problem was that he didn't have a plan. Instead of studying everything, he decided to study the right things. He created a simple daily routine. He listened to English every morning. He practiced speaking out loud, even when he made mistakes. He wrote a little every day, and every week he completed one full IELTS practice test. Progress was slow. Some days were frustrating, but little by little he noticed something different. English no longer felt impossible. It was becoming part of his daily life. For the first time, he stopped asking, "Can I do this?" and started asking, "How much better can I become?" That single change in mindset made all the difference. After about 2 months, something changed. He wasn't fluent yet, but he could finally feel the progress. He understood more podcasts. He spoke with fewer pauses. He finished reading articles without translating every sentence. Then he took another IELTS mock test. He was excited. He believed this time would be different. The results appeared on the screen. Band 5.5. It was better than before, but still far from the 7.5 he needed. For a few minutes, he just stared at the score. He felt disappointed. He wondered if all those weeks of hard work had been enough. Then he took a deep breath and smiled, because this time, instead of giving up, he said, "I'm getting closer." And sometimes, getting closer is exactly what keeps a dream alive. A few weeks later, he decided to do something he had avoided for months. He booked the real IELTS exam. As soon as he paid the registration fee, everything felt different. Now the exam had a date. There was no more waiting, no more excuses. Every morning had a purpose. Every listening practice mattered. Every speaking session became more serious. Some days were great. Other days were exhausting. But he kept showing up. The closer the exam became, the more confident he felt. Not because he thought he was perfect, but because he knew he had done the work. For the first time, he wasn't hoping for a miracle. He was ready to earn the result. And finally, exam day arrived. He woke up before the alarm. He checked his passport, his ID, and his exam confirmation one last time. On the way to the test center, he barely spoke. His heart was beating fast. When he entered the exam room, he looked around. Everyone seemed nervous. That made him realize he wasn't alone. The listening test began, then reading, then writing. Hours passed faster than he expected. Finally, it was time for the speaking test. The examiner smiled and said, "Good morning. Please have a seat." At first, he was nervous, but after the first few questions, he relaxed. He stopped thinking about grammar. He simply focused on communicating. When he walked out of the building, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: relief. The hard part was finally over. Now, all he could do was wait for the results. The next few days felt longer than the entire exam. Every morning he checked his email. Nothing. A few hours later, he checked again. Still nothing. He tried to stay busy, but he couldn't stop thinking about one question: did I do enough? Then, one afternoon, his phone vibrated. An email had arrived. His hands started shaking. He opened it slowly. He took a deep breath. Then he looked at the screen. Listening, reading, writing, speaking. Overall band, 7.5. He couldn't believe it. He smiled. A few seconds later, he called his family. The dream that once felt impossible had finally become real. Getting an IELTS score of 7.5 wasn't the end of his journey. It was the beginning of a completely new life. A few weeks later, he received his university offer. Soon after, he applied for his student visa. The dream he had imagined for years was finally becoming real. When he arrived in the UK, everything felt different. He ordered food in English. He spoke to his professors. He made friends from different countries. Of course, his English wasn't perfect. He still made mistakes, but he was no longer afraid to speak. That confidence changed everything. He realized that IELTS was never the real goal. It was simply the door that opened a future he had always dreamed about. Maybe you're watching this today because you have a dream too. Maybe you want to study abroad. Maybe you need a higher IELTS score for your job. Or maybe you simply want to speak English with confidence. Whatever your goal is, remember this: nobody starts as an expert. Every fluent English speaker was once a beginner. The student in today's story wasn't smarter than everyone else. He simply had a clear plan, practiced consistently, and refused to give up. If he could do it, there is no reason why you can't. Your journey won't always be easy, but one day you'll look back and realize that every small step was worth it. And who knows, maybe your success story will inspire someone else one day. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I hope this story reminded you that big dreams don't come true overnight. They become reality through small, consistent steps. If your goal is to achieve a high IELTS score or improve your English for work, travel, or university, remember that you don't have to do it alone. At English Blueprint, we've helped many students build their English step by step through structured courses, expert guidance, and practical daily practice. Whether you're preparing for IELTS or starting your English journey from the beginning, we'd love to help you reach your goal. You'll find all our links in the description below, including our IELTS programs, English courses, Telegram community, and WhatsApp channel. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment telling me what topic you'd like to hear next. Until next time, take care, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.